Hey, what's up, spooky fam? Today is day 3 of Giallo horror movie week. Today's movie is Don't Torture a Duckling from 1972, directed by Lucio Fulci, where we follow a reporter and a young woman while they investigate a series of child murders in a remote town. And I will be honest, this one did kind of let us down. But before we begin, please go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe for more. Check out all of my links down below if you would like to see any more of me or support the channel any further. Tomorrow's movie is All the Colors of the Dark, also from 1972. And then we'll be finishing up the week with Dario Argento's new movie, Dark Glasses. So stay tuned for those because I'm excited. So before we get into too much, before we get into the montage of death, which I don't really think there's too much to show in this movie. We're just gonna talk about the things that Alex and I personally didn't enjoy about Don't Torture a Duckling. I was so excited about this one. I think this was like I think I am most excited now about All the Colors of the Dark. But I feel like just because of the title, because of the synopsis, I had Lucio Fulci, I had high expectations for this movie. I think I was more or less let down because I feel like I let myself down. So this is by far the bleakest and the most colorless movie that we've covered all week so far. I feel like I don't know, I wanted more out of the color palette. It's a Giallo film. The other ones have been really intense, really moody. This one I just didn't feel it. To me, it just kind of felt, and to Alex, we both talked about this, it felt kind of detached from the Giallo genre as a whole. In the other ones we got more killing, more black gloved killer, more of that. I feel like we got a torture scene in this movie, but we saw all the faces of all of the men. Like, I don't know, I just feel like it just felt a little bit detached. Maybe I'm wrong, but I just felt it was a little bit detached from the whole genre. Personally, I thought it was a really good story. I don't think Alex felt the same, but I thought it was a really fun story of reporters. It was very investigation heavy, and I liked that. I liked how they found the children. There's so much I liked about it, but the dubbing was horrendous. The children were dubbed, you could tell they were dubbed by adults, and I feel like that was one thing that kind of took me out of it. But some of the dubbing, like when you watch a Giallo film, it's to be expected that the dubbing will be bad regardless of even if it's Italian or in English. This one just felt like it was the worst. And you know what? We just watched Blood and Black Lace, and that was from 1964, and the dubbing there was great. Like, it wasn't horrible. And then the last bit here, there is a little bit of an uncomfortable factor with one of the leads, Patrizia, and the children in the movie. I'm going to get more into that, but that was just kind of an uncomfy factor to this movie. It was just like a bleh, you know? Yeah, let's get into the montage of death. moving on. I think the drowning was my favorite kill, by the way. When you just see the kid like in the water, it's just like, oh my, it's shocking. But moving on to the facts about this movie. If you guys didn't know, Lucio Fulci was arrested on child endangerment charges after filming this and releasing this movie, because obviously kids died, but even worse, there was a nude woman around children. Very odd, like I mentioned, just a little bit uncomfortable, a bit uncomfortable. I mean, as an almost 30-year-old woman, it just makes you feel really gross, as it should. But the charges were dropped when Lucio Fulci proved that the scenes were shot separately and just stitched together, and there was never an actual child in the room with an adult. And I don't want to like say a word that's going to get me canceled, so I'm going to tell you what it said in the article that I read. They had a dwarf stand in for the child that was in that scene, and in some shots it's noticeable that the proportions of the body it's different. So if you're watching that, like, it's, I guess you don't have to feel that uncomfortable knowing all of that, but it's still yucky. This was Lucio Fulci's personal favorite movie in his career. I feel like the title alone is probably one of my favorite titles of a Giallo movie so far, except for one of my favorite titles is, what is it? Is it Your Heart is a Vice and only I locked and only I have the key? It's always on Shudder, and I always see the title pop up on Shudder. Your vice is a locked door and only I have the key.
Your vice is a locked room. A
locked room and only I have the key. I was right. See, I was on the right track. I have a fact checker built in here. So yeah, I feel like Giallo titles are just, some of them just stick out in a way that they're really good, you know? Fun fact, none of the actual cast was Italian, even though this is an Italian movie. And this is the first movie in Lucio Fulci's career where he decided to start using more gore and be more experimental with gore in his movies. And like that torture abuse scene that I mentioned, that's kind of difficult to watch. I feel like some of the effects there are really overwhelming, and I can understand why he became fascinated with that kind of stuff. So let's talk about what I liked about this movie. I really enjoyed that this movie did not shy away from killing children. I know that is kind of dark to say, but a lot of movies shy away from that topic. It happens, you know, like if they're gonna kill off dogs, if they're gonna kill off every other innocent creature, why are children the exception? I'm sorry. It's a movie. It's a horror movie, you know? Like, no one's safe. Like, don't take that out of context. I'm just talking about movies. I'm not talking about real life. But I mean, like, that was the central focus of the movie, like the child killings, and I just feel like it's a really interesting premise to watch. I guess, like I said, it was very investigative heavy and very investigation heavy, and I like that side of things and how they figure it out and how they find out who killed these kids. Just crazy. One of my favorite things was listening to Morbid, a true crime podcast, listening to Ash and Elena break down the West Memphis 3 case and those child killings, because the investigation was so intense to listen to, and how they pieced together how they found these kids and just all of that. I don't know, that's kind of what I was thinking of while watching this movie, even though it was definitely not that kind of situation. And none of these people were obviously influenced by Stephen King, as they said the West Memphis 3 were. But I don't know. It was just an intense movie that could have been a little more colorful, a little less bleak. Even though it's a bleak topic, it just felt bleak, you know? The dubbing was bad. It wasn't that great overall, but there was great redeeming factors in the movie. So check it out. What does Joe Bob say? Joe Bob says, check it out.
Check it out.
4 stars. Joe Bob says, check it out. But that's all for today's video. Tomorrow, All the Colors of the Dark from 1972, finishing off with Dario Argento's Dark Glasses, so stay tuned for that. I will see you very soon. Let me know what you think of Don't Torture a Duckling. The metaphor is heavy there, I love it. That's all, and I'll see you tomorrow. Sayonara, Spooky fam.